Who wants a 30-year-old stove? Nobody. Who wants some modern appliances? Everybody. And so there's a whole strip out, rip out, and redo effect of the property life cycle. Welcome to the Urban Property Investor. I'm your host, Sam Saggers, here to help you crack the code of real estate wealth. Today's show, property life cycle theory. Yes, we're getting into some more economic theories around real estate, and one which I absolutely love, and I've never taught it on the podcast, is the life cycle theory of real estate. So I want to get into that. I want to bite into what that actually means and how you can use it potentially to pick out a great property, or maybe to apply it to your time horizon as a property investor. So I think it's a valuable piece of content, but of course, welcome back regulars. You know the drill. Play the program in double speed, get your life back. And of course, all the episodes I've done are actually lessons on real estate for anyone who's new to the program. So feel free to go back in time and check out an episode that may be more up your alley. But hey, I just killed a pigeon. Yes, I want to apologize to the pigeon lovers of the world. My motor vehicle just struck a pigeon and I was the driver at the wheel. I have effectively committed, manslaughter of a pigeon. And of course, people love pigeons. There's pigeon breeding societies and I think even some cultures love smashing a pigeon for dinner. So I apologize to the pigeon lovers of the world because the world has one less pigeon because of me. But on that sad note, let's talk real estate. Now, there is a famous saying, a cynic is a person who knows the price of everything, but the value of nothing. And I think that phrase resonates with me, particularly with the concept of property life cycle theory. We often are choosing real estate based on price, but as we know, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And of course, the younger the property, the more built-in value it has when measured over the long term. The older the property, the more likely it is that value needs to be instilled in the real estate, or a renovation needs to unfold for the real estate to find its value proposition in the marketplace. So property life cycle theory is basically a timeline, and it's broken up into 4 quadrants. The introduction of a renovated or the introduction of a brand new property to the marketplace. Its second quadrant is a growth section of life cycle theory. The third quadrant is a maturity section of a property's life cycle. And the fourth section is where a property begins to decline in look, appeal, its feel, its rental return, its growth potential, its overall economic functionalism. And so as a property investor, you kind of have 3 sections of the market you can invest in. You can invest in really the introduction section of the market, where a property is introduced to the market for the first time of its life journey. And quite often that is linked to obviously brand new real estate. Now, brand new real estate is real estate you can add value to. And really the best way to add value to brand new real estate is to design it really, really well. You can add value to brand new real estate by building a brand new property, doing something like a knockdown rebuild. You can add value to brand new real estate through a time mechanism, doing concepts such as delayed settlement or pre-construction off the plan. You can add value to brand new real estate through the development process of putting together some land, a site, rezoning a few things, and putting some new real estate on the actual property that it is that you're trying to add value to. So there are ways to add value to brand new real estate. And of course, one of the easiest ways to add value to new real estate is through the concept of just getting and haggling a really good, sharp discount. But new real estate generally sits in the introduction phase of a property's life cycle. And so it's being introduced to the market for the first time. And of course, when a property is introduced to the market for the first time, it goes through around to 1 to 5 year period of introduction. And during that 1 to 5 year period of introduction, what you're going to find with new real estate is it typically gets a high rental demand, because obviously it's a new, shiny, brand new property to the rental market, never been lived in before. And for that reason, it generally sees a high rental rate of demand from the marketplace willing to pay for that asset. And of course, generally the people who buy new real estate tend to be early adopters of the concept of what the new real estate has on offer. And of course, if you do it right as an owner, occupier, and investor, you'll pick up the new properties that enter the marketplace, setting a benchmark for living through design, through architecture, through location. So that period of time is known as introduction. And typically the real estate process of introduction, you can add some value through things like building, you can add some value through things like just negotiating, but ultimately that is what is known as buy, depreciate, rent, and recycle. You're coming in at the new section of the marketplace, the introduction phase of new real estate to the cycle. Now, of course, the cycle itself, property life cycle theory, is a 26-year cycle. So we might think of real estate having a cycle of doubling in value, but imagine a dwelling, an actual piece of real estate, a property, was given birth between the ages of 0 and 26. It's going to go through those 4 quadrants: introduction to the market, growth within the market, maturity in the market, and an eventual decline of look, feel, and appeal within the market. That whole process goes from birth to 26 years as one loop, one cycle. Now, as an investor, I don't mind buying on either end of the 26 year cycle. I prefer to buy and do buy, depreciate, rent, recycle to brand new properties coming into the introduction phase. But equally, I don't mind looking at real estate, which you buy, renovate, rent, and recycle equity from. The BRRRR model, which is very famous. A lot of people talk about the BRRRR model. And of course, really the BRRRR model, if you like, is when you pick up a much older property. It's going to be effectively older than 26 years. Now, what happens during the property life cycle theory, a piece of real estate will eventually end up in decline. And of course, that decline starts year 26. So when a property turns 26, the market begins to see the dwelling as kind of unsafe, lacking appeal, needing improvement. You can visually see things starting to fade away. And of course, you'll see dated kitchens, dated bathrooms, dysfunctional floor plans. And of course, the property is going to be in need of some major renovations to uplift its property and improve its profile so the cycle can begin again. And of course, depending on your budget, you can look at buy, depreciate, rent, recycle, or buy, renovate, rent, recycle. It really depends on some mathematical formulas that you may need to look at when it comes to how much each way of doing things is done. But ultimately, properties have a used by date. And of course, unless money is spent to bring a property back up to its appeal worthiness, then it starts to decline. And you see that mathematically. You see ultimately less capital growth. You see less liquidity in the asset, less people want to buy it. There's less overall appeal. And of course, less people want to rent the property because it's now old and it's got problems. It's carrying with it age. So in the middle of property life cycle theory, you've got two other phases, the growth phase and the maturity phase. And this is what I would refer to as the mainstream phase of a property's life cycle. And really from year 6 to 15, if a property's, say, 6 years old, all the way up to circa 15 years old, there is a realization from the market that the property actually has some good level of standards to it. It requires low levels of improvement. It doesn't need any major works done to it. And of course, this actually leads to that real estate being in high demand because it's basically pretty good real estate and there's nothing the market needs to do to it. Now, the only difference with that real estate, let's say it's 15 years old, it's now actually 10 years away from, or 11 years away from turning 26, which is obviously the period a property begins to decline. So again, it really depends from you as an investor as to how close you want to invest to the end of a property's life cycle, which effectively is measured from year 0 to year 26. And again, like you can find plenty of properties which are 60 or 70 years of age, but would have gone through 2 to 3 renovations during that 60 or 70 years of travel. And again, some of those renovations can be just brilliant in much older properties. But equally, if you want to invest in the mainstream section of the marketplace, you're probably not going to be able to come with an add value mechanism. So the first quadrant is introduction. New property comes to market, year 1 to 5, high rental demand. Really, the early adopter investor tends to do that particular deal, or a family looking to basically build brand new. And of course, that ultimately can lead to that product, if it's done right, becoming the market benchmark, the best of its class. And that's probably, I focus 70% of my time there, where it's like, where is the best architecture? Where is the best designed new real estate coming to marketplace? Because if I can add value to that real estate, build it, design it, team up with the right architects, do pre-construction, get a bit of a discount on it, I can make some money. But then the real estate obviously goes into that growth phase where 5 or 6 years later, having bought the newer property, the market realizes, wow, that's a pretty good property. And all of a sudden, those high standards are what the market is actually looking for. All of a sudden, the market realizes, okay, I would pay more for that real estate. And that is the growth period from year 6 to year 15. Now, there is a third quadrant before you get to decline, which is maturity. Maturity goes from year 16 to year 25. This is where the market sees the property as very safe. It's very mainstream. It's very stable. Its income profile, its proof of concept has been proved. It's already had capital growth. It's considered established. It doesn't need major improvements. It just needs maybe a quick coat of paint or some sort of cosmetic uplift. And for an owner, this is also the best time to sell. The best time to sell because it's the maximum level of maturity. So what happens is the A-class investor will buy BDRR or BRRR, which is BDRR is buy, depreciate, rent, recycle, or will buy, renovate, rent, recycle. So the A-class investor ends up selling to the C-class market, which is effectively the mainstream marketplace, who needs to see a property, feel it, make sure it's all very safe and sound, know that there's ultimately demand in that property, happy to pay for other people's capital growth. If someone else thinks it's a good idea, then it should be a good idea. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. But ultimately, that is where the maximum level of where a property's worth is at. And then quadrant 4 kicks in and a property starts to decline in value. By year 26, the property starts to decline in value. Real estate agents come over and appraise the property and they say, well, geez, it's a bit run down and the market isn't paying top dollar for rundown properties, B and C grade properties, because of the cost of renovation. The only people who are interested in it are at the moment the home builder marketplace themselves, who can do a cheaper version of the renovation. So it may not be bang on year 26, it may be year 35, but ultimately that is how the cycle works. Property life cycle theory is a 26-year journey from birth to decline. And that is why if you go around, particularly the suburban sort of middle ring areas of our big cities like Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane and so forth, you will see effectively older homes, which are now very, very expensive, in beautiful suburbs, but those homes would have gone through 2 or 3 major renovations. When I say major, I'm not talking $20,000 uplifts. I'm talking major renovations, hundreds of thousands of dollars to put better looking kitchens in, better looking bathrooms, open up floor plans, redo roofing, redo fencing, redo wiring, redo plumbing. All of that is not cheap. And of course, as a property goes through its life cycle, so does a market, and the property sitting within the market go through a market cycle. So it's very common to buy a property which, if you bought it on year 0 and woke up 26 years later, the area you've bought in, which you first bought your property in on year 0, perhaps was a average level area. By year 26, it's a very different area. It's very popular. It's even yuppified as an area. So all of a sudden, the kitchen you bought at year 0 is no longer suitable for the yuppified marketplace. And that is why you will see homes ultimately need to redress themselves typically every 26 to 30 years as life goes on. Who wants a 30-year-old stove? Nobody. Who wants some modern appliances? Everybody. And so there's a whole strip out, rip out, and redo effect of the property life cycle. And again, it really depends on you as an investor. You can be a buy, depreciate, rent, recycle investor in new properties. You can be a mainstream investor buying at, for example, the mature phase of a property's life cycle, which is 16 to 25 years. The only thing you need to understand at that point, let's say you were buying at year 16 and you were kind of happy with the look and feel of the property, because at that point, it's the optimum time of the property's basically market maturity, and the market sees it as very safe. Well, you've just got to recognize that you don't have 26 years before you need to do a major renovation. You now have 10 years. And again, that's just the concept of property life cycle theory. It's like, where are you in this property's journey of age, not to be misconstrued with what the market is doing. Now, as an investor, you can also focus in on property life cycle management. And really that is just 3 quadrants: acquisitions, operations, and disposition. So obviously, when do you want to acquire the real estate? Do you want to acquire it when it's 0 years of age or 30 years of age and renovate it? Or do you want to do it 15 years of age in the middle and kind of have a modern property but closer to the renovation side of the equation? As an investor, I think either side, the bookends are the best myself, because you can add some value to the real estate. Obviously, the closer you are to decline, the more your operating costs go up. So if you buy year 20, you're typically going to have more repairs and maintenance than you are if you buy year 5. It's just logical. So again, the 3 quadrants of property life cycle management: acquisitions, what time of the life cycle are you buying? What does that then link to the operating costs? And the final thing is when you dispose of the real estate. Maybe you'll never dispose of it. I'm a big believer of buy well, never sell. One of the reasons I tend to focus on buy, depreciate, rent, recycle is I try to line up investors to their time horizons of when they are basically retiring. And if I can give them a retirement without major structural renovations, that's I think I've done a good job at that point. If they're 70 and they're having to get a loan to renovate, or they're now faced with selling a property because they don't have a budget to renovate, that becomes a challenge to how I offer future pacing advice. But in saying that, there is a good time to sell real estate, and it is the point of maturity, anywhere from a property's age 16 to 25. The market will see it as very safe, very mature, very stable, proven. The local, everything should be going well, and you'll get a lot of interest for properties which are 25 years of age. And you'll get a lot of interest of properties that are 15 years of age. It's just the way it is. And again, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. But for mainstream, that is what the mainstream market loves buying. 17-year-old properties that need no capital improvements. But what mainstream often fails to consider is at age 16, the property is now 10 years away from needing major works. And again, that is the process. Now, you can obviously delay a property's life cycle. You can improve a property's life cycle. Now, like most humans, if you eat only junk food and smoke cigarettes and smash bourbon and cokes every day, your life cycle may be a lot shorter than someone who eats really healthy food, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, exercises, regularly, has great friendships, all that kind of stuff. Now, again, obviously, barring accident, the person with the better lifestyle choices is probably going to live longer. And there's no different in real estate. If you have high quality inclusions in a property, they are going to last longer than low quality inclusions in a property. If your real estate is soundly built, it's going to have a longer property life cycle. And you think about all those Art Deco beautiful apartments and Victorian houses that still exist today in Australia, turn of the century Federation homes. They were significantly well-designed, well-attributed homes. And again, today they're millions and millions of dollars, but they have gone through a journey which has been longer than even today's homes, which ultimately do not last as long. And modern homes built in the 60s and so forth are just seeing wrecking balls today. Like the amount of homes that need to be knocked down that were built past that sort of Federation period, the red brick classic house, for the most part, today is past its use by date. The red brick walk-up apartment complex, it's past its use by date, because if you go to what the benchmark of living is, that is no longer the benchmark. It's effectively in decline. And again, can you get a beautifully renovated red brick walk-up? Yes, you can. It means that the cycle has begun again. And of course, that is a key principle. The cycle can begin again. And this is, of course, means if you approach the property life cycle theory by buying the property which needs the renovation, and you have a budget and a skill to renovate, and you can hold the real estate, you can buy, renovate, rent, recycle. And ultimately, at year 26, when you do that, you now have another 26 years to go, which takes the property up to, in age, 52 for the next cycle to commence. So a little bit confusing by way of podcast, but I hope it kind of makes a bit of sense. I hope I've described it in a visual manner, because that is the way that real estate works. So that's it, folks. Thanks for your time. I will catch you on the next show as we talk more real estate. Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Property Investor. To never miss an episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app or on YouTube. And I would love it if you could give the show a rating and share it with your friends and family. In between episodes, you can always keep in touch with me by connecting on social media over Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Until we meet again on the next episode of the Urban Property Investor, take care and bye for now.